What's up, heroes? I'm the House Ninja, superhero DJ and music producer, and also the host of the Producer Life podcast. This is episode 107, and in this special series that we're running right now on the podcast, I am interviewing the 16 contestants from Base Battleground, this epic online competition hosted by Emerald Summers Presents, where the DJs go head-to-head to battle it out for fame and glory, and your votes determine the winner and who goes on to the next bracket. This next competition is going to be Sunday, September 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's this coming Sunday. And I've got the next two contestants with me. The first one is Dirty Lux, an Atlanta-based dubstep DJ and music producer. So welcome, Dirty Lux.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here. I'm really excited about this tournament. I'm excited about how the tournament's going and this podcast. I hope I can contribute in a good way.
Oh, it's going to be a great conversation. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the branding. All right, Dirty Lux. Where did that come from, and where did you get your start as a DJ?
So, Dirty Lux came from a gloving crew I used to be a part of because I'm also a flow artist. I glove, I spin poi. But when I was a part of this crew, we were called Dirty Crew, and I went by the name Lucian the Rage Squid. But that's a lot to type out. So, so my buddy, we're all just sitting there hanging out one day. He's like, I got it. Dirty Lux. And I was like, that's kind of catchy. Let's see what happens. And that's what I've been running with for the last 2 years now. And then when I started DJing, I was thinking, what could I use as a DJ name? Wait, Dirty Lux is already known. So just add it on there.
Okay, fantastic. Now, originally you had this squid kind of thing going, and now you've got a sloth mascot. Where did the sloth come in?
So, I've always been like a fan of sloths because sloths are the most nonchalant creatures you'll ever see. It's like, I'm here, you're here, I'm gonna keep doing my thing, and they don't rush anything. And I've always felt kind of like heart to heart as far as that, because I don't try to rush things. I take my time with almost everything I do, because if I rush it, it's going to mess up. But if I take it time, go smooth with it, it's fairly easy and everything ends up working out some way in the end. And then Zootopia helped that out with the sloth jokes. So ran with sloth. And
I was just trying to remember the name of that.
Where he's sitting there at the DMV line, and he's like, that scene every time gets me.
Yeah, I'm going to have to link that in the show notes page.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Dirty Lux, I'm hearing myself. Do you have some headphones?
I do not have headphones. So.
I'll edit this part out. But could you put... shoot. All right. Can you turn your volume down a little bit on your end? I just don't want to get a bunch of echo. And then the other thing is, if you could turn your gain down on your mic a little bit, you're clipping a bit. Just a little bit. All right, say something again.
Hello, how is this working out? Hopefully a little bit better.
Yeah, that's better. Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to pick up kind of with the branding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got Dirty Lux the name, you've got your sloth mascot because you take your time and you're chill, and then you've also got this sort of tagline that you've been running with, Lord Yeeter. And I guess I first got to ask, yeet is kind of a generic expression. There's like a lot of different ways people interpret that. What does Lord Yeeter mean, and what does yeeting mean to you?
So Lord Yeeter. I've always been a fan of the term yeet because it's a word that means like almost nothing, but it's just like throw something, rage out, and just hype. And then when I think of like dubstep and the music I play and create, it's more so of the heavier like rage, mosh pit type music. So you think, oh, I'm gonna jump in this mosh pit and I might get yeeted. So Lord Yeeter, I'm here to yeet speakers. I'm here to blast music through here, have everyone hype, jumping around. Send it.
All right. Send absolutely, Lord Yeeter. very very SEO friendly too. So that's great. So tell me about your music. You do dubstep, you do ragey stuff. How did you get into that in the first place? And now you have like 30 tracks on SoundCloud. I would love to hear a little bit about your production process.
So I've always produced music, but I started out in the R&B genre, in the hip hop genre, and I did it in high school. I was a ghost producer for a lot of friends, and as time went on, I started slowly getting reintroduced to EDM. Like, of course, like listening to Skrillex, listening to Flux Pavilion. That's how everything started out. But as time like grew, I ended up listening to different types of EDM. That's where I started coming across artists like Excision, Subtronics, Kaiwachi, and it gave me a completely different feel because I started feeling like this is my type of music. Like I've always liked EDM as a genre, and I felt like house was a little too soft for me. So running into like rhythm, tear out, dubstep, death step, even, I was like, okay, this feels home. Let me see what I can do. And then I jumped into FL, and it felt like riding a bike again. It's like, of course, there were a few newer things added, so I'm like, oh god, what to do? But once I got in the groove, it was like, okay, cool. Let me stack this sample, chop this up, stretch this. Oh, it makes a different sound. And with a lot of tear out sounds, it's stretching the snare. I found that out. And I was like, oh, that works.
Hmm.
But
Did you have
definitely,
some particular YouTube channels that you recommend, or you're basically self-taught with FL Studio? Is that right?
with FL, it was just me diving in and seeing what I could make and running with it. I do have a few people that have helped me along the road, like Good versus Evil. He's based out in Knoxville. He's been like my mentor throughout my musical journey. He made my first logo, constantly giving me feedback on new songs that I'm working on. Speaking of which, there's a part two to Sloth's Revenge that is on SoundCloud that'll be coming out really soon. There's some production side I need to work on because now I'm at that part where I'm learning mixing and mastering. So now I want it to come out as clean as possible. But definitely got a lot of insight
Do you
from Good
stick mostly
versus.
with the stock plugins that are in?
No, I go through Ghost Hack.
Sorry, we got a little delay there. Did
I go through Ghost Hack.
What is Ghost Hack?
Ghost Hack, they're a group. They have a bunch of sample packs that they send out. It's a lot of dubstep, rhythm type sample packs to where you can go in and then you can get kind of a feel of what you want something to sound like. It gives you like something to like base off of, so to speak, to where, okay, I want to create this rhythm, but I don't know how to. So you'll look at some of the samples they have and it kind of like gives you that template you want.
Okay. And then do you rely mostly on what's already built into FL Studio, or do you have some go-to plugins and synths that you use that are third party?
I mainly use a lot of the FL plugins. Uh, Serum is love and happiness in every bit of the form, but mostly the plugins that are used within FL. I do want to dabble into Ableton at some point in time, though.
Okay. What if you're happy and you commented that FL Studio feels like riding a bike and you just kind of fell back into it? Why? What attracts you to Ableton if you're doing well with FL Studio?
It's more so learning the new DAW itself because I've heard a lot of good things about Ableton. I haven't heard many bad things, and I've heard you can dive a lot more into a sample with Ableton. And I'm one of those people to where I got to see it to believe it because you can do a lot of stuff on FL as far as diving into the sample. So I'm like, what else can Ableton bring that FL doesn't bring? So it's for like more so like my knowledge base, and it always helps to know another DAW because it might be able to do something that FL can't do.
Okay. And you haven't. all of your tracks so far, they've just been released on SoundCloud. Is that correct?
Yes. I do have one song that is on all platforms. It's called Circus 10. I
But I
released.
think I saw a post on Facebook.
It's called Circus 10. It was released through Antifill Records. It's called Circus 10. That song is childhood trauma wrapped into a song. But I do plan on branching out and releasing more songs throughout other platforms.
Okay. Okay, so I saw a post about songs coming out on platforms in October. Did you shop labels, or are you self-releasing through like DistroKid, or
So
what are you doing in terms of distributing your music in October?
I'll be self-releasing through DistroKid, and I will be sending some songs to some labels. I will be working on sending another song to Antifill because, of course, they helped me, and I might send one to Brain Sick Records just to see how it's going to be this time around. Because I've heard like management has changed a lot with Brain Sick due to like previous management, and that's just like something that happened. It wasn't too serious, but musically it affected me because it was early in my career.
Okay. Before the show, I was kind of reviewing, taking a look at all your different social media, stalking you a little bit online, and you've got this really engaging manner on TikTok. I don't know, you seem to have that platform kind of nailed. You've got like 32,000 likes. I don't think you've been doing it that long. Um, Tell me a little bit about your TikTok strategy and how that ties into your brand, and any advice you have for people that are still kind of musicians that are still kind of struggling to get started on that platform.
So TikTok for me is one big old manic episode. Really, I get like a boost of energy one day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna look on TikTok and see what funny stuff is like happening. And I, my advice to anybody trying to build their TikTok: post that content, post that video. Don't even think about it. Don't be like, no, nobody's gonna like it. Just post the video. Like I even posted a video recently where I was like, this might get like 300 views, and I look at it this morning and it had 1,200 views, and I was like, what in the world is this? So my advice is post, post, post.
Okay. Do you I know that TikTok does a lot of different challenges. Do you like to jump in on those, or do you just try to post whatever comes to your mind, or do you worry about staying on brand, or what? I mean, is there a whole lot of thought process behind it, or is just, hey, I got a lot of energy, I'm going to make a video?
So for me, I'm also one of those people that don't like seeing people sad. So my TikTok is more so of like a serotonin boost for the day. It's like I'm having a bad day, I'm scrolling through TikTok, and then you see one of my videos of me just acting goofy, messing around with my dog, doing a react, and just bringing up something funny and trying to get that laugh out of you, or even get you to crack a smile. So that way your day has gotten better in some way. It's not going to be a completely crappy day. So my main thought process, I'd say, for TikTok
Okay.
is this gonna is somebody gonna laugh at this before I like make that final decision?
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, people are on the platform to be entertained, so if you're going to make people laugh, that's going to keep people coming back to your content. So, um, talk to me about, obviously we've got the base Battleground competition coming up this Sunday. Talk to me about other plans before we get into base Battleground. Talk to me about other plans you've got for the next 6 months to a year. Where are you taking the Dirty Lux brand?
So next 6 months, well, really next 3 months, because we're getting close to the end of the year. I'll still be pushing, trying to go for shows, try and get Augusta's dubstep community up, because I've been seeing with the EDM community, they've been asking for dubstep, and they've been looking in, dare I say it, all the wrong places. But I'm finally trying to bring that community up. Me and my buddy DJ Stilts, we have been throwing shows once a month, every month. We're trying to build that crowd up. I'm trying to do more shows at different venues to catch the eye a little bit more to the crowd we're appeasing. And in December, however, I will be taking a hiatus. I will be backing away from the DJ scene and the music scene because due date, I will be having a kid Christmas Eve. I'm excited about it. So up until about next
That is
year.
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'm excited for my little boy to come into the world. But I will be taking a 6 month hiatus after December. But up till then, it will be trying to crank out shows like I've been doing all year, trying to make sure this brand at least somewhat sticks. Like when I want people to think of the Dirty Lux brand, I don't want them to think of it as like, oh, that's that dubstep DJ. I want them to think of it as, oh, that's that funny DJ that plays dubstep. Because more people are going to try to see the funny guy rather than, oh, let's go throw shit. Like, ugh.
Are you with your son being due in December? Have you given thought to what degree you're going to share his life on social media, or is he going to be a part of your brand? Is being Dad Dirty Lux going to be a thing, or are you going to kind of keep your personal life and your DJ life separate?
So Papa Lux is going to be a thing. Papa Lux and Baby Lux. So there's going to be a whole lot going on, especially with that, because I'm going to build a branding, and half of the proceeds are going to go to like stuff for baby. So I'm definitely going to be like building merch up. And like I said, musically, I'm going to stop. DJing wise, I'm going to stop. Dirty Lux itself isn't going to stop. The brand is still going to be there. I just won't be pushing out as much music. I'll still be promoting other people, helping to curate events and whatnot. I just won't be the person actually performing. I'll be taking a step back from that because performance DJs go to different states, different cities, compared to just a regular DJ is just more so homebound. They find a residency and they get paid throughout there based on the bar. That's what I'm going to be doing more so of. I'm going to be stepping away from like the out of state life, out of city life. Of course, unless like a major festival is like, hey, we liked your music, come play, like Lost Lands. But other than that, I'm going to be at the house.
Yeah. What you said you've been throwing more events with DJ Stilts. What goes into planning and running your own event? What makes a good event? What are sort of the steps you go to host one?
So as far as hosting an event, it's not as hard as most people think it'd be, but the tedious parts within it are what make it hard. So of course you got to secure the location, secure talent, make sure you have the equipment, and then eventually what it comes down to is how are you going to fund this? Luckily, working with Draft Society, where my event for the 10th, which is today, is going to be at, they're actually paying me to bring other people in so I can afford to bring down people that I know from South Carolina, people that I know from Atlanta even, to come play. I can at least compensate them in some type of gas money. But for the most part, if you're going to do an event, if the payout isn't going to benefit you in a way, why are you going to do the event? So with me and Stilts working together, we get these contracts with different bars.
So securing location, identifying your artists.
Oh, my bad. But with different locations and securing these bars, you make sure to build a contract, not with the manager of the bar. Try and talk to the owner because the owner is going to cut you a better deal 9 and 10 times compared to the manager. The manager is there for numbers. The owner is the one that has final say for majority of what goes on in the bar. So if you got an owner that isn't a fan of EDM in the slightest, You're trying to throw an EDM event, but the manager says yes. The owner's not going to back it. You're not going to see much out of it. However, if the owner is just a fan of EDM in general or throwing events in general, and you've shown proof you can bring a crowd, you can supply that intake of funds towards that business, because at the end of the day, it's still a business. If you're showing that, then you get that bigger opportunity of, oh yeah, I definitely want you to throw an event. That's how we were able to lock down Joe's Underground on a monthly basis. So much they're asking for us to do it twice a month even. But we're also not trying to bombard ourselves with how much work we're doing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, one of the other events you've been instrumental with is Roguewoods, by which Emerald Summers presents, and early on Syndicate as well. Tell me a little bit about Roguewoods and sort of where that's going.
Yes, Roguewood. So Roguewood is on a huge pause, and a lot of people have heard that that was the last Roguewood. Roguewood is never going to happen. That's not the case. You're hearing it from the source, because Roguewood was like my baby. I loved everything about Roguewood because of the possibility of it. And with us putting Roguewood GA, that means we can host that anywhere in Georgia. And if we want to branch out, we can do that. And what I do hopefully want to build to, not this year, going into next year. That's why I want my hiatus is going to end in the summer, because eventually I want to bring Roguewood back. But I want to potentially bring it to Augusta. Because if I can bring it to Augusta, I have bigger land opportunities compared to where it was at before. My personal perspective of Roguewood was, it was crap. It was a S show. It was bad. But all I've been hearing as far as reviews were, Roguewood was amazing. I had a great time. And I'm like, I think I was just too close to it, because I saw all the nicks, all the things that we could have tightened up, all the things we could have fixed. Because I was able to be aware of all of that, I didn't really get to enjoy what was going on. But a lot of other people were like, I had a great time. And that's why we're like, we definitely want to continue this going forward, just in a different location, in a bigger location, if I can get it next year. In a bigger location, if I can get it next year.
Yeah. And I think the difference in perspective probably comes, you're always your own harshest critic. And so if you're involved in planning the event, you see every little thing that goes wrong, and you're trying to insulate your audience from that. And it sounds like that happened. There was a lot of logistical stuff that was going on behind the scenes, but from the perspective of the people showing up at the front gate, they came, they had a good time, and that's what it's all about. So I'll be excited to see where Roguewood goes next year in 2023. That kind of brings me to close term coming up, the Bass Battlegrounds event. You going head to head with Raidenrok, another dubstep DJ based out of Atlanta. Tell me a little bit about your setup and what you're planning for this weekend, without giving away too many trade secrets.
So, for starters, me and Raidenrok are the original creators of Bass Battleground. So this round is everything to us. And it's a friendly competition, because like, to even get to this point is just amazing that people are still like willing to put a good foot forward and still like do their part. We've had hiccups in the tournament, but that the fact that people are still watching blows my mind. Like, granted, we're not getting the numbers that, of course, we wanted from jump, but we're still bringing in influx of people. We're still increasing our following as a whole for Emerald Summers day by day because of this tournament. And with this matchup, it's going to be interesting. I don't know what Raidenrok's got in store. I know for me, you're about to hear a lot of stuff y'all never heard me play before. And at the end, I am going to be playing a track I've been producing for the last like 6-7 years almost. and it was like my very first quote unquote dubstep track ever. And that's how I'm going to be closing out this match. So I'm excited to see what Raidenrok's packing. It's going to be high energy sets, 100%. It's going to be a blast. I'm excited to see the outcome. And when it comes down to it, may the best man win, honestly. When it comes down to it, may the best man win, honestly.
Okay, well, it's going to be great, and that is at 3 p.m., 2 p.m. Eastern, September the 18th. So Sunday, September the 18th, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the Emerald Summers Presents Twitch channel. It has been a pleasure, Dirty Lux. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, TikTok Dirty Lux 4, Instagram Lord Yeater Lux or Dirty Lux Music. I'm on SoundCloud, like we talked about before. I'm going to be posting probably 2 more tracks onto there that I've been working on because I've been behind on the releases. You can find me on Facebook. Original name Antion. I do message back. It might be late, but I do reply back if you just want to talk. I'm a fairly nice person. I'm kind of funny sometimes.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I've enjoyed the conversation and can't wait to see your set on Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And to all y'all out there, drink your water.
Up next, we've got Raidenrok, and together with Dirty Lux, they are the founders of Bass Battleground. So I'm really excited to have him here today. They're going to be going head to head coming up, and Raidenrok is a dubstep and space bass producer based out of Atlanta, Georgia. So welcome, Raidenrok.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, celebrated a little too hard last night, but life goes on. We got stuff to do.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. How did the show go?
The show at Believe Music Hall went extremely well. I couldn't have been happier with it, especially having everyone there showing support. Like, that means a lot. I'm still taking it all in, and it's been a week. Still riding that high a little bit because it's it was a goal of mine, and it's just crazy to accomplish that inside of a year of performing.
So you were playing the main stage at Believe Music Hall, is that right?
Yeah. Just because it got bumped up from the Wish Lounge to the main stage, regardless, I still got to knock out a goal of mine performing wise. And yeah, I'm not even up to the anniversary point of my first live show. So that was something I was not expecting to happen this early. But I'm definitely glad that it did, because it gives me more motivation to keep going, and it was well received. And so I'm excited to continue, because sometimes you don't always know if that hard work will pay off, especially this quickly. But luckily I've had the time to devote to it, to practice and get everything in line for it. So
can you backtrack a little bit and tell me how you got to the main stage at Believe? What were the connections? What were the steps? How did you make that happen within a year?
I think it was back in February or March. I think it was just after I released Astral Playground. Frankie Sin, I made a post on Facebook asking for new performers for Believe, and I got tagged a couple of times. And so I messaged him, and he sent me a Google form to fill out, and I did all that. And between doing that, performing last week, about 6 months or whatever it was, and then all the times performing on the patio and just playing everywhere for everybody that I could, I finally got the email saying like, "Hey, do you want to open for Zeke Beats?" I was like, oh shit. Yeah, this is really happening. Hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then everyone was super hyped that it was Zeke Beats, and like I was hyped for it too. It was dope. Like even meeting him, he's the nicest guy ever. I'm incredibly thankful. It's been surreal.
Okay. Well, awesome. Walk us back to the beginning. So
Yeah.
that's been your last year. How did you get your start as a DJ and as a producer? Which one came first?
Um, Ironically, right before COVID and the lockdown happened, I had decided to buy a SX2, and Ableton had a like free, I don't know how many months it was of using their DAW. So I was like, okay, cool. This is a good time to start doing this, teach myself, go through YouTube tutorials, and especially with the pandemic hitting and everything being locked down, like I got a chance to do all of that. But it mainly stems from going to my first and only 360 event and just it hitting me that, like, in order to fulfill what I need to fulfill, I need to be a producer and DJ, because I've been going to these shows for a while now. I'm listening to the music since 2009 or whatever, and it's definitely a culture that I embrace. It's made me feel like free and forget about stuff and just being there in the moment with the music. And my whole thing is, if I can just create that for anybody, like for whether it's a song or a whole set or whatever, like that would be success to me, is giving people an escape and just
Okay. So
forgetting
you
about stuff.
you really self-taught during the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. I did an online lesson with Super Av, with Champa, and I got really into Ahi's tutorials on his YouTube channel. I've purchased a couple of his magic racks, um, and I use like a combination of four people's mastering techniques just to get my own sound down. It's crazy. You just take pieces from here and there, and when I first started out, people were like, "Oh, it's going to take like 2 years to find your sound," and you being a naive beginner, you scoff at it like, no, I got this. Like, I've been doing this for a while. I know it does take time to figure all that out. And like, ooh, I really like this, and I know how to make this. So this is, you just get in your own zone, and it's cool doing that versus some people saying like, oh, just mimic what's popular right now, but put your own spin on it. It's like, okay, but the shelf life of all of this music is so short. You have to make something unique.
So do you feel like you have a sound now, and how would you describe it if you do?
I would say, yeah, I have a sound now. I would say more so of a style, like this funky wonky, like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, as like a low screech, and like you can describe beep boop sounds all you want with just weird sounds, but there's definitely like a noticeable style to it now. Um, but Dirty Lux would describe it as speaker farts at different octaves. And
Okay.
as much as he's trying to, have a subtle stab at me for that, that is incredibly accurate, because I was with a group of people that I go to festivals with back home. And before Lux even told me that, one of the guys was like, yeah, I love it when my speaker farts. I was like, you know what? Actually, yes, I do too. It's that low, like squelchy, just, and then just that rumbling bass. Like it just makes your face scrunch up, and you do that bass face. You're like, ooh, what is that? I've always loved those sounds. So I'm
Okay.
definitely doing my own
Now,
thing with that.
you actually have a degree in sound design. So did that help you with developing these sounds? And how do you, I guess, where do you start when you're developing those squelchy octave farts that you put in your?
Well, like, yeah, my degree is in sound design, but it's from a television and film production standpoint. I mean, it's not necessarily music. Like, yeah, I learned things about, compressing and EQing and da 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 da, like all these like little tools you can use. But as far as the sound design of dubstep itself, or my style, like, that's just been trial and error through different plugins. I've used Serum. I love Wavetable. It's the stock Ableton synth plugin. A lot of people are fans of Vital. I think Vital's free even. But there's this one YouTube tutorial I found. I forget the name of the guy. He's like some British dude. I think it's like Smilebox. It's something. Anyway, he has this serum tutorial that has that squelchy like push pull like real low sound, and it's just going through like the LFOs and then the oscillators with like this bend plus minus thing, and automating certain things, and it really gets that thick mid range in there. It's just a really cool sound to me. Oh, Sad Meal. That's the guy's name. I'll have to provide the link for you.
Yeah, how do you spell that?
Sad Meal, just how it is, SADMEAL. Pretty sure that's his name.
Okay. Yeah, if you can give me that link, I'll include that in the show notes page. That'd be awesome.
For sure.
And your most recent track is Shock Therapy, right?
Yeah, that's my most recent release.
Okay. All right. Talk to me. Tell me about the development of Shock Therapy, or if you've got another favorite track that you want to talk about that has a good story, whichever.
Shock Therapy was it was a song I'd been sitting on for a while, and much like Swan Dive, it's a heavier song, but nothing like too crazy. I like the lower stuff, but every now and then I need to like headbang some stuff out. But Shock Therapy was heavily inspired by Zed's Dead. I wanted a long, drawn out intro, like slowly building up to like just some like crazy bass. And a lot of that came to me in one night, and it's crazy. Like there's times where it takes months to finish the song. But like Shock Therapy, like I knocked a good half of it out in one night, and then did the rest in like a nice little chunk. But then it took forever to master the damn thing, because I was still like figuring stuff out and like going back and doing this and that, and just the tedious work that's gain staging and like compression at certain places. Like with Ahi's tutorials, like he goes through how Skrillex does his, and there's parts of that are great. But if you've started off with terrible sound design and EQing, when you do like all this super simple stuff, but it's just like layers on layers, it can really bring out like bad noises. And then if you have really good sound design, it can bring it out even better.
Now, what you just described, where you were talking about the gain staging and the compressing and all that, I'm kind of thinking more like the mixing phase as opposed to the mastering phase. Are you talking about kind of getting your volume levels right within the channels and making sure all the sounds sit together in the mix, or?
Right. So basically through these tutorials, like they tell you to have a template set for your tracks and like basically have all your volume faders set. And then you just design out without really changing too much of that. Like you'll do small tweaks here and there, but if you have your template set, you can pretty much just plug and play like anything. And it shortens your work time. It's definitely less clicking around trying to get stuff set. But the most recent song that I'm working on had everything set, and I put a couple of Ahi magic racks on some synths that I made, and it just weirded it out. But it sounds so good, and it's so simple. And just songs like Shock Therapy and Swan Dive, I've shown people the automation lanes, and it looks like someone just took like a crayon and started just drawing everywhere. Like, like you get those late nights where you're just trying stuff and dragging shit all over the place. You're like, oh, this sounds cool. Then you go and look at it the next day. You're like, what was I doing?
So, I mean, you're describing it as somebody drawing with a crayon, but are you using the pen tool in Ableton to draw your automation lanes? And
Yeah. Just doing different things with like, EQ tricks and pitch. And the cool thing about Ableton now, their most recent one, which is Ableton Live, is it 11, I think? 11. You can pitch bend in the MIDI section of notes. Like you don't have to do it after the fact. Like you can bend it up, down, like however you want. And so like that's another way to shorten your workflow. Just get stuff done quicker.
So you're pitch bending within the MIDI clip.
Yeah, like just on the note itself, like when you put those notes in and then you click a separate tab and then you can pitch bend and do all this other stuff like right there. In 10 it was not there. So 11 it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. All right. So other than Ahi's tutorials, are there any other places that you'd recommend people go if they're interested in learning how to do better dubstep, bass type music?
Um Not off top. I would say start there. Like he has so much to go off of, and just for different sounds too. Like he has house stuff in there, like weird dubstep, like the wubby stuff that you hear like at late night renegade sets. Like it's all in there, and it's pretty on point.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
And then, so you taught yourself how to produce. You did a lot of YouTube videos. You holed up during the pandemic. And then, how did you come up with the Raidenrok DJ persona?
Um, Well, during the pandemic, I was obsessed with the show Vikings, and like Thor's always been my favorite superhero, and Mortal Kombat was a favorite game of mine as a kid. And Raiden and Thor are basically the same person, more or less. And the idea of Ragnarok combining with Raiden, like Raidenrok, and the whole thing behind Ragnarok, where it's like the fall of the gods and the dawn of a new, and all this other theological stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Like a new wave of bass producers coming up from teaching themselves over the pandemic. But I don't know, it rolls off the tongue well. No one else has the name Raidenrok. And I officially got the trademark papers in a couple weeks ago, so it's all solidified.
Okay, very cool. What
Mhm.
so I've heard conflicting opinions on the trademark thing for DJs that, obviously that locks it in. It is yours. Nobody else can use it. But that, if you've been using a brand name for a long time, you can prove it on your socials, et cetera, then, somebody would have trouble in court if you challenged it. It might just be a little more expensive, but you felt like it was worth the trouble of going through the trademarking process.
Um, yeah, just so like no one else could touch it, like no one else can do anything with it, and people are trying to rip stuff off you all the time. And if it's trademarked and you have all that legal stuff in place, like there's there's not a lot that like they can do, at least from my understanding of it.
How
But yeah,
hard
I
was
went
it?
at what's
How hard
up?
was it to do?
It costs more money than I thought, but it takes months. Like I think it's the total process was like 9 months.
Whew.
Yeah,
And you went through an
because it
attorney for that.
Yeah, yeah, and so like and depending on how far you want to get it, and then all the monitoring stuff, because like you can go through the state, you can go through the U.S. or global, or there's all this other shit. But once I knew it didn't have a problem in the U.S. and I ran the global scan like once, and there was no flags, I was like, cool, I don't got to do that or worry about that. So, um, yeah, I mean, it came back clean. It's the only Google search when you type in Raidenrok, so
Good.
it's
Yeah,
easy
that
to
that
find.
that SEO piece of it is huge. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, okay, great. What's coming up for you in the next 6 months or so? What are you planning and what are you working on aside from base
um,
battleground, which we'll get to in just a minute?
well, the same day as my matchup with Lux, we have our Renegade sets at Imagine, and then I'm going to Lost Lands with friends. Hopefully, we set up DJ equipment outside of the RVs we're staying at. That'll be dope.
That sounds like fun.
And then I got this festival coming up in November 13th, I believe. No, November 12th, Saturday, November 12th. It's a Spirit Grounds Festival. It's in Washington, Georgia. It's like 2 hours outside of Atlanta to the east.
Okay, well that's a lot of stuff just in the next 60 days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As far as 6 months, nothing solid planned out far ahead. I keep telling myself to chill out on performances and take time to write more. But I keep getting these opportunities, so it's like I gotta take them and keep the ball rolling. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles with it. You gotta keep going.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah. It's hard to balance that performance versus the producing part of it versus,
mhm.
I see, everybody talks about it's important to mix and master your stuff on different sound systems, et cetera. And yet I see a lot of videos of DJs like working on their stuff in a car or in a hotel room with just their headphones. And I'm thinking, man, how do they get their mixes to sound so good? So
I I think it might have something to do with having all those things set, and it's just like, all right, well, I know if all these faders are set and I have these plugins on this and da 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 da, like it's gonna sound like this. And so maybe you just have that practice and that know-how of like, all right, this is how it sounds in these headphones. It's gonna sound like this in speakers, probably.
okay.
Um, yeah.
I'm looking around your studio there. I see
Mhm.
some acoustic tiles. I see a gig bar. I'm kind of curious about the wrestling belt. Can you tell me about that?
Um, yeah, so that is a replica of the World Heavyweight Championship that originated in WCW. Then, once they converged with WWF, became WWE. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid, and so every time I saw the big gold belt, on Sting or Booker T or whoever, like my favorite wrestlers, I was like, yeah, like I would always want to wear that, like cool. And one year, my girlfriend got it for me for Christmas, and so yeah, I hung it up on the wall to satisfy my childhood self. And it just so happens that Lux is also a huge wrestling fan. So we share that. And part of coming up with Base Battleground, we had the idea of just sort of copying and mimicking like wrestling promos to like sort of talk smack. And we've been doing that over social media over the past like week or so.
I've seen that. I've seen
Yeah.
that. It's been fun.
It like I hope no one's taking it seriously because we talked. We're like, all right, let's do like friendly jabs and like talk mad shit and just hype it up because um that's sort of what we had envisioned for this whole thing was people having fun with it. And we know not everyone's huge wrestling fans, but when we're doing these promos and just talking crap, it's actually hilarious. It's fun. I got one more funny one planned to post between now and the battle. Yeah, it makes it more fun. Because this competition is mostly friends, and the purpose of it was to not only have us be more creatively challenged and going up against people and like, yeah, like you shouldn't like compare, like be better than this person or that, but it's also just good practice and having fun with your friends and just improving and not being able to play the same song twice or every time you advance and then you go up against someone else with a different style. It's just kind of like, oh, let's see, like if I can play like them or whatever. It just makes it more fun, I
Yeah.
think.
All right. Well, that seems like a perfect opportunity to ask you. Do you have any particular messages for Dirty Lux this weekend?
Well, I will say that I have been laying clues a little bit as to songs I'm going to play and things I'm going to do. I don't know if he or anyone has picked up on that. Um, but yeah, I'll say this: we all know that Lux brings the heat, and I normally don't. So I got something planned for him for the second half of the set. It's gonna be fun.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to it. The, the jabs have been fun. I've been enjoying reading that. I was really excited about Corgan and Fetty the other week, and it was a shame that Fetty fell through. The cat versus dog thing was they were kind of
Yeah.
going at each other a little bit, which was cool to see. So
Hmm. Yeah, it was funny too when we were at Roguewood, and during Corgan's set, like on the offbeats, like me and Fetty were meowing, and then like Corgan's friends or whoever it was, family, like I don't know if his dad was, someone was there, like they started barking, so like we had this like meow bark thing going like at a show.
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. He should absolutely try to keep that going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but unfortunately, like life happens, and people you can't do things, and it sucks because you look forward to stuff, but you got to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so going forward, where can people find you online?
My Instagram and Twitter is Raidenrok_music. My Flow page, which is basically a Linktree, that's on both of those pages. I'm on Spotify now. Finally, I got one song on there. Astral Playground finally made it. And I'll slowly get the other ones out that I can release on Spotify that aren't going to raise copyright flags, because I like to put little snippets of my favorite movies in my songs. And I know that's the catch-22. It's like, oh, you don't have those rights, like blah blah blah. But it creates the I don't know, the area, the space, the vibe that I want the song to be in. And movies play a big role in my life, because like that's what I do professionally. And I've always had a passion for that and music. So I'm trying to combine the two in my own way.
Yeah. Maybe you create two versions of the song, one without the cleared lyrics and the samples, and one with, and that way you can distribute one and then have another that you hold exclusively for shows that your fans can look forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to your set, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys go at it. And thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to leave a rating and review for the podcast on whatever platform you're using. You can find links for both artists on the show notes page at producerlifepodcast.com. Until next time, this is the House Ninja, reminding you to be somebody's hero today.